There it goes. Welcome to the HUMANe Live. This is episode, I think, 87, which is ridiculous. 87 weeks. And I've missed weeks. I was out last week because I had a broken tooth that I had to take care of. But I am back, so we are covering 2 weeks worth of material, and there's a lot that happened over the past 2 weeks. So we're going to try to cram as much in a hopefully under 2 hours as I can. Alright, so what do you want to talk about first? Because I've kind of got a list, but there's no particular order.
Yeah, let's just shoot with your list. I may have some other stuff once we get towards the end, but I want to overlap.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I actually forgot in there because there was a lot that happened. Okay, so let's talk with the first thing, because this is what I wanted, the main thing I wanted to talk about last week was Portland. Portland, Oregon. There was another... What?
Yeah, so you said Parkland. I was like, that didn't happen.
No, that was forever ago. Sorry. No, Portland, Oregon was so the Proud Boys, or at least something equivalent to that. I don't know if they actually called themselves the Proud Boys. Was it? Was it actually an official Proud Boys event?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, but it was basically conservatives who were going to Portland, doing another kind of protest or rally about free speech. I believe Gavin McInnes was there, if I'm not mistaken, because that's why I was questioning whether it was a Proud Boys, because he has kind of had to separate himself from that organization.
Yeah, he's no longer...
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Gavin McInnes was one of the speakers at the events. Anyway, Antifa shows up to protest with quotes around it, because whenever they show up, it's not an actual protest. A protest is a peaceful organization. They show up to throw things and beat people. They show up to make things violent. That's where it ceases to become a protest and then starts veering into riot or just in this case, since it wasn't both sides. All of the violence is coming from the Antifa side. It was just assaults. If it was both sides encountered, because they've had this in the past, and in Portland, where it was both sides fighting each other, this time it was very much one-sided, with the main person being attacked being Andy No. And Andy No, they called him a Nazi and an alt-right figure when they were describing the attacks. But that doesn't make any sense, because if you know anything about Andy No, He's like center left. He's kind of along the same lines as Tim Pool. While he has been investigating the incidents as far as Antifa and fake hate crimes in Portland, he is very much left leaning. Also, he is a gay person, so this happened in June, and it happened before the end of Pride Month, and crickets from media. None of these, nobody was talking about this other than conservative and alt media outlets. He didn't get that much attention as far as even from mainstream like Fox and stuff like that. These riots where he was beaten, so he had things thrown at him other than a milkshake. But he did have milkshakes thrown at him. People were throwing things at him. People punched him. Somebody stole his GoPro. And he's
probably going to show up on Fox at some point soon. He's been on there before.
Yeah.
But I don't know if because they are more mainstream, they've got to vet a lot of stuff first. It seems that they are trying to be...
it's probably going to be weeks late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah. It is surprising that the lack of coverage.
Yeah, considering that this happened during the month where everybody was like, "Oh, Pride this and Pride that," and "Oh, how dare you burned a gay Pride flag outside of a bar? Oh, that's a hate crime." Here's literally a gay man being attacked in the streets of Portland, Oregon.
Just for being there.
Just for being, yeah.
He was on a hit list.
Yeah.
So what is that Twitter account? There is a branch of Antifa, Rose something. They have their own little insignia. It's like a smaller... Yeah. They put his name on there and said, look out for this guy. Before the rally happened.
Because he reports...
Yes. Basically, what's happening is if you're just an honest intellectual reporter, you're middle of the road, you're centrist,
Yeah.
you go film them and they look stupid because they are being stupid, they get mad about it and will beat you up and say that this is anti-fascist. That the only reason you were there filming them is to make them look stupid, even though you added nothing. You just
Yeah.
filmed them.
You're like, this is what happened. How dare you show us what happened?
Like filming somebody at a bar who's had too much to drink, and then later they're mad because you made them look stupid.
Hmm.
That was their own actions. But he was on their list. They targeted him. I'll try and find out the name of that particular Antifa group. Antifa Rose City Antifa. But they're like I guess a branch or sect in Portland, and they specifically called him out before, which is why he was targeted like that during the actual protest.
Yeah, which is kind of weird because like because they identified him by name, and I've seen Andy Ngo on interviews. I'm familiar with his face, his profile picture. It's not something that he keeps hidden or anything like that. But in the video, I didn't recognize him. In the video,
welled up. I mean,
yeah, no. I'm saying when he was first in there and he's just videoing, I'm like, that's just some random guy. And then they start throwing stuff at him, and then they call him out by name. I was like, oh, that's Andy Ngo. Like, yeah.
That's why they called him out.
Yeah. But I was just kind of like, he's got, if you met him on the streets in some kind of incident like this, unless you were actively looking for him, you would say, oh, that's just one of these other guys walking around with a camera. Because there was a bunch of them during these events, walking around with the camera.
Yeah.
It's because it's not, he's not familiar enough. He's not like some celebrity where you're like, hey, that's Andy. No, he's got a very like average looking face. He could blend into a crowd and you'd be like, oh, that's just one of the other guys there.
YouTube guys just trying to.
Yeah, but they're actively looking for him. It's like, oh, there's our target. Well,
right. When they called him out, then everyone around was like, hey, I've seen this. Because there is a group in Portland that they put his name out there and said, look out for this guy.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
and
half of them, or majority of them, don't even know why they were throwing milkshakes at the guy or why they hated him. They were told to hate him.
Yeah.
This is how blind they are.
Yes. So they have no idea of what he does for, if they haven't read any of his articles, they haven't seen anything that he's done, any of his interviews. He's very soft-spoken, very, very mild-mannered, and like I said, he's kind of like, he blends in, because he's not a very outgoing guy. He's very introverted. Yeah. So he's kind of, like, that's, like, when I'm seeing the video for the first time, I thought he was just some random guy. But then you see the video of the after effects, and yes, his face is all bruised and bloody, pretty much still recognizable if you have seen the before pictures.
Yeah,
but
face was swelled up.
Yeah.
Around his eyes.
Yeah, and then the amazingly, so on Twitter and stuff like that, people were saying, "Oh, you guys are just complaining about a little bit of milkshake and stuff," and then the Portland police specified that, there's reports of people mixing things in these drinks and then throwing them. Quick cement is what... Yeah. Quickcrete cement into the milkshakes when they're throwing them. And Andy Ngo was actually in the ER for a brain bleed, was kept overnight. And I'm like, that's... Even if it's just a milkshake, not only was it a milkshake, they threw other things at him, and they also punched him. So it's kind of like...
I heard from one or two other sources that somebody had, I don't know, what did they call that? Carbon fiber gloves or something? Like,
yes.
It's not brass knuckles, but...
But yeah, it's reinforced gloves.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
from the guys that were physically punching him. So it wasn't just milkshakes. You can clearly see in the video, there's some guys coming up and wailing him inside the face.
Yeah.
His face swelled up.
Yeah, that's not just a milkshake. And yet, all on Twitter, like, oh, you guys are just complaining about a little milkshake. And then they see the picture of him in the hospital. And they're like, oh, he's got some dandruff and he didn't clean himself up from blood. I'm like, how do you come to that conclusion?
He went back to the hospital today. He's still having complications. His brain's still bleeding.
Wow. Yeah, so that's new information for me. Yeah.
I heard that a couple hours ago, so he went back today because there's still further complications. But you have to wonder, why put anything into a milkshake if all you're doing is trying to humiliate someone.
Yeah.
Chuck
Also,
an egg,
yeah.
you shouldn't do that, but it's just an egg at least. If it's just a milkshake, you shouldn't do that. I still consider that assault, but at least it's just a milkshake.
Yeah, and it's technically under assault by definition. Like, that's something you can take to court and win. But
that seems to go above and beyond just the simple humiliation of haha.
Yeah.
You got milkshake.
Well, the ideas behind the concrete, I would assume, is because it would harden it and make it thicker, kind of like putting it when you're making a snowball and putting other stuff in there besides snow, so that way it hits harder instead of just snow. It's kind of the idea.
Is one, quickcrete, when it hardens, has an exothermic reaction, meaning it becomes hot.
Yeah.
Which can cause burns, but since the milkshake would kind of stop that, there's also an endothermic reaction, chemical reaction, which causes chemical burn.
Yeah, that's the other thing that was definitely noticeable.
I didn't know about either of the burns. If I went to McDonald's or Burger King, since they're advocating for this, and put concrete mix, what do I anticipate from that? What is my goal? Is it to just humiliate somebody or do something extra?
No, it's to do damage. Like, there's no other reason for that. It's to do extra damage.
It's to assault somebody.
Yeah.
There's...
It's like saying, it's like, oh, a milkshake's not gonna do enough, let's put other stuff in there, and
what was being said is that there was people passing out these quickcrete laced milkshakes. So it's possible that a lot of these Antifa goons were just grabbing these, because I saw a picture of a truck was pouring it.
Yeah, it was pouring it, and they're just going up and grabbing it, they don't know what's in it.
Yeah, so just a bunch of dumb butts, handing what they're told, and hey, chuck it at this guy because we named him.
Yeah.
But and what about people in the truck who were mixing this stuff? I think
those were the ones that the Portland authorities were actually seeking, and I think those were the people who got arrested.
The pictures were on camera. They didn't have masks.
Yeah, so there's pictures of them with masks throwing punches and throwing milkshakes at them, and then there's earlier video of them going to the trucks and getting the stuff. So they put two and two together, and all this was submitted to the Portland police, and there were arrests made the day of. I don't know if they got all of them, but...
Because there's also controversy around the mayor, who was supposedly united with Antifa and told the police to just stand down.
Yeah, and he's been doing that for forever. Like, that was it was a couple of months ago, where Antifa or some other similar crazy group was redirecting traffic for no good reason,
cars with baseball bats.
And then some elderly guy gets out of his car and they beat him, and he's scrambling to get back in his car and drive away.
Yeah.
And then they start smashing his car. Yeah.
They started chasing him down the street.
And they're like, "Get his license plate." Get his license plate for what? You guys committed the crime. You are not the cops. You don't have any authority to direct people on this road. The fact that the cops didn't do anything to stop this nonsense.
But I mean, what? So it's a hard mindset to kind of put yourself in, because we do have a constitutional right to assemble. We're allowed to peaceably assemble in protest of something. That has always been, since the Bill of Rights came out, that's been there. That's in the very First Amendment. We can do this.
Yes.
It is part of our free speech. But that's it. It is just the right to peaceably assemble. You do not have the right to assault other people. That is not constitutionally protected.
Nope.
You don't have the right to throw things at people, to set people on fire, to cause chemical burns, to even throw eggs at them.
Yeah, you don't even have the right to redirect traffic. That's not a thing.
No, that's not a peaceable assembly. That is you causing a disturbance in the community and your surroundings. That's you causing harm and injustice, or at the very least, an inconvenience to people in that community. You do not have the right to do that. So how can the police not sit there, or just sit there? And
it's again that they've been ordered by the mayor to stand down in a lot of these situations, and after that incident, with where they're redirecting traffic, the mayor invited them in and was saying thank you for your service and bringing this attention to the national level. He was congratulating them on their efforts. Was
there any reason why they were redirecting traffic?
Not that I can think of.
That
It
wasn't
was
even
just to assert authority. There was nothing that other way that I haven't seen anything about that.
what was their service? Is that something the police would have done just for no reason? Are they
Not
saying, hey, we
typically.
do our job as the police? Thanks for helping fill in where we can't? What is he talking about?
I don't know. He's a crazy idiot, and they need to get him out of there. Okay, so the other thing is not only did Andy No get attacked, but the one that got kind of overshadowed because of the Andy No situation is that he's a little more of a well-known. But there was two other people that were attacked. There was so there was another guy who was beat with a metal. It looks like a metal crowbar. Yeah.
Reports.
Yeah. So there was an older guy who was getting beaten by a crowbar. Was trying to. Here's the other thing about both situations is Andy No gets signals or whatever. They start throwing things at him. He immediately retreats from the area, and they chase him, throwing things at him and continuing to attack him as he's fleeing.
He couldn't get out of that.
Yeah. So the other happens with the other guy. So he's getting beat by a crowbar. He's not fighting back. He's not engaging them. He is trying to get away from the assault. And they just won't relent. And somebody else comes in and is standing up and be like, "Hey guys, stop it!" and is taking the blows for this other guy, and he gets sent to the hospital as well.
Yeah, he got cracked on the back of the head. He got
stitched. They're like, "Yeah, leave the guy alone. You guys are gonna kill him." And like if they had kept at it, like they were hitting this guy was. I mean, he looks old. I don't know his name.
The report I got was he was in his 60s.
Yeah.
Like
being hit with a crowbar? Like,
why is the crowbar there?
I don't know.
Protesting.
Because
Who brought that?
Yeah. Somebody intent on being violent. And yet they claim to be the peaceful. Oh, we're the Antifa. Yeah, no, you guys are worse than. You guys are you're worse than anything that the original protest could ever do. So, yeah, it got a little overshadowed. I'm glad that people like Matt Christensen were were highlighting that particular incident, because that, like, the Andy No situation is pretty brutal. I'm sorry to hear he's back in the hospital, but I'm pretty sure he's going to recover without too much of an issue. He's got hospital bills and stuff, but those other guys, they got the brunt of it.
Oh, yeah, I saw the gashing one of the guys said. That was bad.
Yeah. Those guys are going to have more long-term issues recovering. That's...
Yeah, well, the main point is the two guys, the first older guy, we're not quite sure if he was like a right-leaning protester, and so that's why he got attacked, or what happened there.
He just wasn't dressed like Antifa, as far as I can tell.
The guy simply went to go say, hey, stop this. You know, you're going to kill him, and went to go protect them. That was it. And then he got beat up.
Yeah.
And then Andy No is just there to record. He's not on any side.
Yeah. And I forget whose video I saw this in, but there was another guy, left-leaning reporter. He goes to these and all he does is film. He doesn't add any commentary. He's kind of his name is Andy as well, but I don't remember the username. So he sees the violence breaking out, and he just books it. He's walking down the street. Some guy comes up, chases behind him, and sprays him in the face with mace. And she's like, what? He's just some guy with a cell phone and a little selfie stick or whatever, a little mounted camera on his camera phone. And he got sprayed in the face for nothing. He is not... Nothing from this guy has any association with the conservative side or with the alt-right or with the right-leaning guys. He's just kind of there. And they spray... That was enough. He wasn't wearing an Antifa mask and he wasn't wearing their gang signs, and so they sprayed him in the face. Yeah. So... Yeah, not just milkshakes, although the milkshakes... Oh, it's milkshake, you guys are just... And they're like, oh, you guys don't even have proof of that. There's all kinds of video of this. It's not just one video. It's videos from multiple angles on both the crowbar attacks and the Andy No attack. There's only one angle that I saw of the mace attack.
When did you first start hearing about milkshakes being thrown at somebody?
Like a month ago?
Yeah. Like a month ago. During, or maybe possibly 2 months
Maybe
ago.
2 months, yeah.
With like UKIP, over in the UK. The UKIP part. While they were going around talking to people, and then a couple of their guys, well, not even UKIP, I guess is that their Conservative Party with Nigel Farage?
Yeah, I think so.
He got milkshake. And then
Tommy Robinson, yeah.
That was not even a full 2 months ago. And now we're to the point of filling it with concrete and then beating the crap out of the guy you just threw the milkshake on and then hitting people with crowbars. How rapidly will this escalate until people are dying in a supposed peaceful protest? And what gives them the right to say, we can protest whatever we want, we can beat the crap out of you, we can send you to the hospital, but you're not allowed to go stand in front of a city building and say, we think free speech belongs to everyone, including hate speech. They can't even say that without fear of now potentially going to the hospital. And yet they believe themselves in the right. How does that happen?
Oh, I wish I knew. It's some high levels of indoctrination there.
I mean, apparently, carbon fiber gloves and a fist to the face and a crowbar to the back of the head is much better than saying hate speech isn't real and you should be able to say what you want, what's on your mind. Apparently, that is punishable by death, but beating someone on the head with a crowbar is commended by the police.
At least in Portland. In other areas, not so much. Portland seems to be a lost cause.
They're either not listening to this, saying, well, it's not here, so I don't care, or they just look at this with their jaws dropped, saying, what is happening?
Yeah, and the police are fed up because, like we've talked about this earlier, they are seeing all their police are retiring, and they're not getting any replacements. They're seeing.
I'm not totally blaming the police force.
Oh no, their hands are tied, and they're just kind of like, oh well, I was on my way out. I was looking for retirement. All right, guess I was thinking about doing 5 more years, but nope. With this nonsense, no, I'm done. Bye guys, and they're not getting any recruits to replace them.
If they're told to stand down, what happens if they don't? If they go out and they break up a fight, do they?
They probably get fired and don't get anything.
Lose their job and no pension. Now their family has no.
Yeah, that's more than likely going to be the case. Is they'd get fired with nothing.
I mean, that's a bad situation to put someone, especially when the police are sworn to protect.
Yeah.
Society, the innocent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Then what is the point of having police there if they don't do anything? It doesn't make sense. And how could people look at this guy as a mayor and say, "Hey, good job"?
Seems like that town needs to have an early election or something like that. I don't know if they...
Can they impeach him?
I don't know. I don't know what the legal precedence is or whatever the legal policy is in Portland, but that should be the case. It's like, hey, this guy needs to go. Replace him with somebody, anybody. We'll replace him with a cat. There are successful cities that have a cat as a mayor. They don't have problems. They don't have this going on. Yeah, he could be replaced with a doorstop that would do a better job because at least the police would be allowed to do what they want to do and actually protect the people and prevent the violence and stop the attacks regardless of whatever side they're on. Like if it's the people on the the right, although that doesn't historically and through the video evidence that doesn't seem to be the ones to start the fight. But if they were the ones throwing the first punches, yeah, the police would be there to stop them. And if Antifa's the one throwing punches, well, they're there to stop them. Just to keep it peaceful. That's their job. Yeah. And a doorstop as mayor would allow them to do that. Alright. Oops. I need to go back to my list of things. Now, I wanted to make some... Yeah. Their milkshake brings all the soys to the OR. Terrible. Okay.
Nice play on words there.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh, okay. So, a similar incident. I don't know if you saw anything about the protest in Washington, D.C.
About the salute rally?
Yeah, Trump's...
salute to America.
And there were protests from Antifa there. I know within the last few days, 2 Antifa guys, I think they were Antifa, but they got arrested for burning a flag, and then they chucked it, and it burned a Secret Service.
Oh, okay, gotcha, yeah. And it wasn't because they were burning the flag, it's because they threw it at a Secret Service agent.
But
See, I'm laughing not at the not at the guy. The guy, I don't know if the guy was injured or anything, but how stupid could you be? Attacking a secret, like, I don't care if you're throwing a piece of paper at, you don't do that as Secret Service agent. That's a good way to get dead.
Well, there's also a lot of stupid stuff. I saw a guy's tweet where he said he saw someone, but they bought one of those like flame resistant flags.
Mm-hmm. When he was trying to set it on fire,
light it, and poof. And then I saw a video on another guy's channel of a dude who brought some flags and he couldn't get it lit.
Yeah.
And then one of them actually did get it lit. I don't know if that was the same kerosene guy, and it kind of went up in a ball of flame. And he's throwing it on the ground, almost burned himself. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You all seem like imbeciles.
Yeah.
And the guy's channel I was watching, it's called Slightly Offensive. I watch his stuff every once in a while. I think he's like a Christian youth leader, but he records stuff and just asks questions. He doesn't try and like interject, hey, this is wrong, or hey, you shouldn't, like, not pointed questions. He's just, hey, what are you guys doing? What are you here for? What do you enjoy about gay pride?
Oh, okay. So he's asking questions. He's going up to these things and actually interviewing people.
Yeah, interview questions just to see what people's opinions are. Doesn't really comment while he's interviewing. But he said he went to this in Washington, and they kind of had free speech protesters on one side of a barrier, and then they had the street, and then they had barriers set up on the other side, and that was kind of the Antifa protesters.
Mm-hmm.
So the police were kind of separating them. So he went to the Antifa side, and they gave him like a list or I guess demands, things almost like a contract he had to sign before they would let him over. Like he wasn't allowed to record people if they're showing their faces, and he's like, "But you have masks on. Even if a recorder knows who you are, you can't record people's voices without their explicit written consent." It was like a whole list of these weird demands, and they said he couldn't come in unless he met it. And he's like, "But this is a public street," and so he went to go talk to a police lieutenant, and they're like, "No, you can go in there. It's public." None of that applies. And your press, he's actually got a press badge. He's considered part of the press. And he went in there and he told him, he's like, police chief said, or police lieutenant said, I could be in here. You guys don't have any special permit. And then some Antifa, like a little squirt, ran up all dressed in SWAT gear and said, I'm a police lieutenant, and tried to push him out. I mean, the whole recording was ludicrous, but they don't want themselves recorded at all, because even just recording them makes them look so stupid. And then he had a film of them rushing the police, and one of the police officers just like shoved him and threw a guy backwards, like knocked him. It was like a squirt. But I don't know what they were doing there. Why are they attacking the police like that? And why do they think just holding up a piece of paper they printed out and typed out themselves has any sort of legal hold or any sort of legality to it?
I don't know.
So this is like the Washington chapter, I guess, of Antifa loons. But that was kind of happening in multiple places within the last week or two.
Yeah. So the guys who threw the burning flag on the Secret Service guy, they were arrested, right?
Yeah, there's two of them.
Yeah, and they're lucky it didn't turn into something else, because like Secret Service, they have got one job, that is protect the president. You're doing something to distract them. What, like, if you're gonna do a presidential assassination, what do? You cause a distraction so that way the Secret Service is busy with something else. Yeah, it's their mindset is, oh, anything that's gonna distract me from doing my job, that's a potential threat. That could be an assassination attempt, and these guys are just a part of it. Yeah. You don't know what's going through their minds. These guys are armed in DC. Yeah.
So
it's. I'm glad that they showed restraint, but I mean, like, if they did pull out a gun and shoot somebody over this, I'd be kind of like, well, it'd be kind of hard to blame them in that situation.
But on the flip side, there was something pretty awesome. So I didn't actually get to watch the ceremony or the parade for the 4th. I was, doing stuff elsewhere. But I did see clips of it from various channels. Most of the mainstream media was bashing it.
Yeah.
Way too flashy. This is anti-American. What's with the tanks? This seems like a dictator. This reminds me of the Red Square in Russia. Or
have they never been to a 4th Like if they've never been to a parade, I guess, because that.
No president has ever done anything like this. And the channels I was watching was like, well, Reagan had all these battleships floating by.
Yeah.
And then I think was it JFK, who also had a parade with military vehicles. This has happened quite a bit.
Quite a bit. It's not anything new.
But they made it to be like Trump is some sort of dictatorial fascist.
And they're complaining
about the military and said, "Look, this is what you're going to get if you oppose me." But I watched clips of the parade, and it was actually amazing because they were painting the crowd, all different races, all different people, all happy, all waving the flag and cheering. They had different groups. They had like I think a black choir section that came through. There looked like there was these Middle Eastern guys, like beards and these camouflage turbans. It looked like they were in camo, but they all had a big American flag patch on the side. Like, dude, I like that's awesome. They had some Indian dancing lady group or something come through, but they all had American patch. It was like, this is what actual multiculturalism, when they accept the United States and say, we're glad to be here, we love this country, that's what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, it's because they all have that unifying thing of, we all come from different origins, we all come from different cultures, but what unites us is we're all American. It's the American values, it's the devotion to the American ideals.
Yeah, I just thought that was amazing to watch. That's what we're supposed to be doing on the 4th.
Yeah.
That's what the whole day is about. So I don't know what the protesters are doing there or why they even picked that day or bothered with it. But
yeah. Well, that'll transition to a couple other categories. The first one we'll talk about it's not on my list, but the the Nike Betsy Ross flag. It kind of goes. I don't understand the mentality here at all. So, and a couple of people have pointed out that this was probably a publicity stunt, although I'm not quite sure how it works in Nike's favor.
So, I have also heard that. I think I was watching Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
He was talking about a lot of boycotts that people are saying, well, boycott this and boycott this all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But and normal people, the average person is just going to go out and buy Nike shoes or clothing.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're not
don't
looking
care.
at one side or the other. Most of the country is tired of this. They don't care. So they're not looking at any of this. It is mostly the activists. And the ones that are the most vocal and seem to be the biggest as far as boycott and any potential extra sales are the ones that pander to them.
Yeah.
So by doing this pandering move, they're simply trying to capitalize on their stupidity, these activists, and say, oh, look, Nike's on your side because we're not going to do this. Come buy our product. While the rest of the country just says, I don't care, it's Nike, I like them. I like to go jogging.
Yeah.
So it's not going to affect their sales really at all, other than they're trying to con all these activist dupes into buying their product because they think they're on their side. Same thing with Budweiser releasing all their, whatever different gender cups. Doesn't matter what color cup you drink out of.
No.
Budweiser, it's just
it still tastes like piss, so why would it matter what cup it's not? Anyway,
so
but
the company's just pandering.
Yeah, and
it's not really going to affect their sales. They're not offending most of the country because most of the country isn't paying attention to that.
So the other side to that is, who is really going to buy the Nike with the Betsy Ross flag on it? I'm thinking more along the lines of they had never had any intention of creating this shoe and selling it. That's something I haven't heard anybody talking about. But I was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, dude, this is Nike. Or you seriously think that they would be
and didn't actually release anything? And put it in production. Then it's very easy to cancel it and say, well, we're just not going to. So people are offended. We're on your side.
Yeah,
now,
that's
a whole production batch. No, they wouldn't let that go because that would have lost a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't think they ever let it go to production. I don't think this was ever a legitimate shoe that they were planning on releasing because they've already their stance on the flag and hiring Colin Kaepernick to be one of their spokesmen. Like, you're not appealing to the Patriot crowd. You're doing everything. Yeah.
Because why would they choose that flag and not just the current American flag?
Yeah.
Because Colin Kaepernick has already protested that flag. He needs another one.
The entire, like, oh, let's do a shoe with the American flag on it. I'm like,
But you guys protesting doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Because Betsy Ross had nothing to do with slavery. Neither did that flag.
No.
That was not even in.
That was just the original flag. Like, I could understand if it was the Confederate flag, then I disagree with them, but I could understand the
battle to free the slaves.
Yeah.
That was what the Union had.
Yeah.
Was the Betsy Ross flag.
Yes.
Trying to free the slaves makes no sense.
Yeah.
I don't know what protesting.
I could see people protesting the Confederate flag. I would disagree with them, but I understand. Yeah, there's a lot of people that hold that viewpoint. Yeah, I don't know of anybody who holds the viewpoint that the Betsy Ross flag is inherently racist. Like, yeah.
Most people don't even consider the Betsy Ross flag. That's part of it.
Yeah.
You don't see it every day. It's not on anybody's mind. It's not a thing that matters. It's just part of our history to say, here's where we started. So, I don't know when he's protesting, but yeah.
And I forget who mentioned this. It might have been Matt Walsh or somebody like that. But the current U.S. flag, it was adopted before the Civil Rights Movement was finished. So, and no one is making claim, the current U.S. flag is inherently racist. It's the same. I'm like, the Betsy Ross one was racist because slavery was still around when that became adopted. The current U.S. flag was adopted in a time where blacks were or segregation of blacks was was law. Logically, you would start to think, the American flag should be just as racist as the Betsy Ross flag. I don't.
Well, they can't because his original protest, he said it wasn't against the flag.
It wasn't against the flag.
You can't backtrack and say, actually, I lied. It was against just the flag. I just don't like the country.
Yeah.
Which, if he's protesting a Betsy Ross flag, that kind of comes out more of
Yeah, it's just the flag. He doesn't know what he's.
Flag.
Yeah.
And he's just in the limelight because it's the only way he can make money now. His football career is done.
And I'm pretty sure Nike had no actual intention of releasing that shoe.
Yeah, I doubt it. They just picked a flag that wasn't the current flag and said, "Well, let's try this."
Yeah. See if that'll and then they're like, and who knows if Colin Kaepernick was even the one who shot it down to begin with? That could just be a PR stunt sort of thing. Like, Colin Kaepernick said, he changed our mind about this.
I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it. He's an idiot.
Yeah. So, to me, that kind of feels staged, and it feels like a marketing scheme the whole way through.
Yeah, it does kind of have that vibe. So, wouldn't that
because they're not likely to lose any of their existing customer base based off of this, and if anything, they might gain the radical left as some customers.
Yeah.
So
I think they may start to adopt the idea of just no longer dealing business with companies that actually pander to that garbage.
Yeah, I don't buy Nikes anyway because they're too expensive. But
I'm wearing.
And I don't care.
I like them. They're comfortable.
What? Oh, you are?
Not anymore after this.
Nah. Yeah, I just go out and buy like a $10 pair of shoes and wear it until it wears out.
Well, that's what I normally do. I buy one nice pair of shoes about every 3 to 4 years, and I make them last for 3 to 4 years, and in between.
Yeah, you just get the ones that fall apart in like 4 months, but oh well, they're cheap.
Yeah.
Well, except for the ones that I got right now, I guess the tennis shoes that I've got. That's because Josh had a gift card to. Yeah. Anyway, gift card, and I got some. I think they were like $80. And I'm like, okay. But a gift card that was about to expire. He couldn't use them for anything else, so he's like, yeah, just get you a pair of shoes. All right. I'll take them.
Yeah, every couple of years I get myself like a $60 pair of shoes, and then after that, it's got to be less than.
All right. Okay, so I did kind of want to transition to something else, but we'll talk about the boycotts while we're talking about boycotts. So the other thing is right now there's a similar boycott of Home Depot. Cause
that one.
Because
there are so many jokes like you guys don't even go to Home Depot.
Yeah, I know.
Have you ever seen a screwdriver? You know how to use a hammer?
Like these are the last people you'd expect to see at Home Depot.
efficient, probably intelligent enough. I'll do it myself kind of conservatives. That's who buys those kind of tools.
Yeah.
Contractors and people who do stuff themselves.
Yeah, Home Depot saw zero drop in their customers over this boycott.
I'm not even gonna look at Home Depot when I drive by.
For some reason during this boycott, Home Depot sales increased.
That's probably all that would happen. Anybody that hears about it was like, this guy's gonna donate towards Trump and put all this money towards medical research and cancer and what else did he have? He had quite a few different charities he wanted to donate most of his fortune to, but like the vast majority of all his money is going to charities. That's awesome.
That's a reason to boycott him.
That's one of the founders. That's one of the creators of Home Depot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like one of the co-creators. So it's like he's like not even running the place, or he has no, as far as I can tell.
Retired.
Yeah, he has no say in how the company is run. So what's?
He doesn't have ties to them anymore. He's retired.
What would hurt? What would boycotting Home Depot do to him? Nothing.
So to fire a few cashiers, he just lost some jobs for innocent people. Good job, guys. If that boycott does anything,
it doesn't. It's not gonna do anything.
Any measurable impact. Oh, okay. So one last boycott. This was recent. That mattress boycott.
Mattress boycott. This is new to me.
The government contract for the.
Okay. For the facilities.
And the people producing the mattresses
wanted to get
a walkout. So it wasn't a boycott, it was a walkout. They said they don't want to be working on mattresses. They're going to be provided toward detention facilities. And anybody with half a brain is like, but you were going to provide a sleeping place for the people who don't have it.
Yeah, the people who are sleeping on the floors.
They're going to sleep on the floor. You're not helping them at all. Who thought of this? The contract's already signed. It's going to be filled. If it's not by you, they'll go with another company.
Yeah.
But you are now causing all those detained illegal immigrants to sleep on the floor because they don't have enough mattresses. Trump even got the money from Congress and said, okay, let's get these people a better place to sleep. Nope. Don't want it.
It's like... Because AOC was saying that they don't want to give them money because they don't want it going, like, the place is poorly run and it's going to be to make things worse and all that sort of thing. I'm like, you can't screw that up with mattresses. The mattresses are being delivered. How are they going to use the mattresses for... Like, if you think these guys are literally Nazis running a concentration camp, what do you think they're going to use mattresses for? They're going to start beating the migrants up with mattresses? They're going to...
Kindling, maybe?
Set them on fire? Or they're going to use them as beds like they're intended. That's more likely what they're going to do with them. That would be... Yeah.
It would... I don't even know how to get into that mindset, because you would think if you thought the facilities were atrocious,
yeah,
at the very least you understand you can't just shut it down and let everyone run free.
Well, they don't understand
that, other than extreme far leftists. The rest of the country's like, no, they're here illegal. We do need to fix our process. We do need to get our border more secure. We need to make sure we know who's coming in, and we're not anti-immigrant. We just need to know who's here, why you're here, and make sure we're protected. But if they're going to be detained in these facilities, at the very least, make it comfortable for them.
Yeah.
Get them clothes, supplies, better food. Taking stuff away from them doesn't hurt the U.S. It only hurts the people you say you're standing for.
Yeah, the very people that you're complaining about their conditions, you're the reason for their poor conditions.
Right. Seeing a homeless guy and then shooting him in the leg and seeing how much worse he is now, we need to get him off the street. It's stupid.
Yeah, which the other thing is, she's a member of Congress and voted against the funding.
Oh, yeah.
But the other thing is, they can specify what that funding goes to. They can say, this much, X amount of dollars goes towards this, X amount of dollars goes towards this. They get the final say on all of that.
But she no longer has the main say-so.
Yeah.
Majority Republicans, and I think at least half of the Democrats, were voting just to push this money through because they'll now understand there is a crisis.
Yeah.
She's one of the few remaining doofuses that I guess they're just trying to stand by a platform so they don't have to eat their word.
And I do like Tim Pool's take on this because he said, yeah, she's never wrong. Like, she will never admit to being wrong. She says something really stupid and then doubles down on it and doubles down on it and will not ever admit that it was a stupid thing to say. Like the drinking out of the toilet thing that has been... Yeah, so now she's doubled down. It's like, oh yeah, there's multiple women drinking. It wasn't just one person who said this. All of them were drinking out of the toilet. And yeah, and so I don't know if you saw the pictures, but various people are to talk about this. So
the prison
yeah,
what do you call it? Plumbing.
Yeah, it's a toilet sink combo.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
they're made that way specifically, so you only have to have a hot, a cold, and a drain coming in.
Yeah.
In one spot, and it's all combined.
Yeah. So instead of the usual toilet tank, it's a sink up top.
They have two different. There's one for potable water that goes in the top, and then regular water for the toilet. But this is the same thing all of our prison systems use. It's meant to be compact. Everything's in one spot. Makes plumbing easy. It's cheaper to maintain, and it's harder to pick apart and use for parts, or to kind of scrap and pull a MacGyver and try and shank people with plumbing parts or whatever. Yeah. So that's what they're using prisons. They're using all detention facilities. It's been used for a long time.
Yeah.
So
and so it's possible that one particular toilet was broken, and that that's the. But it's not like they are prisoners and they're kept in their one room. These ladies can go to a different room and use somebody else's sink. It's not like
a lot of speculation here. I have heard from a couple sources she never actually went on the tour.
Yes.
She showed up and didn't refuse to go inside.
Yeah.
Another source, they're not even sure if she talked to a lady or if she heard from someone else about a story that had happened.
That we don't know about.
If that event happened, there's a lot of reasons for it. It could be because the lady didn't understand what that device was. Who knows where she came from?
Mm-hmm.
And so when the security said, yeah, the drinking water's here, she just started scooping it out of the toilet because there was water. If this ever even happened.
Yeah.
And that's very, a definitely plausible.
Well, the other thing, AOC doubled down and she said, oh yeah, one of the members of Congress went over there and tried the sink and it didn't work. And I'm like, yeah, on one freaking toilet. It's not like every toilet in the place didn't have a working sink on top. That it's not it's like, oh well, every toilet in the facility doesn't work and so everybody's drinking out of the non-potable toilet water. No, that's not that's not feasible. That doesn't happen.
Why they would need the funding is to make sure all the plumbing is up to par, everything is working, and they've got beds, they've got food, they've got everything they need. That's what the funding is for.
Yeah.
So they don't have to have broken conditions on which they're being detained. At least everything is functioning and working.
Yeah.
But the funniest part is there is actual clips of her yelling about women drinking out of toilets, even though she didn't see it.
Yeah.
And then the reporter's like, oh, so did you actually see it? And she's like, I gotta go. And rolled up the window and drove off.
No, she didn't respond to that question and just drove off.
She said, so did you see this? And she just rolled up the window and drove away. That was like the one important question out of all that. Nope, I gotta go.
Yeah, it's no proof of anything, and yet if there is any proof on this, it's coming from the Border Patrols where they have video footage of the facilities where they're going around like, yeah, this is the facilities, these are working, this is the conditions. Yeah. There was another guy, one of the other guys, it was somebody who was running for president, is their brother, went and toured the facility. Not Acosta, is it? Like, no, what's the other guy? The Hispanic guy, the actual Hispanic guy, not Beto.
Perez, something?
Yeah. So his brother went to tour one of these facilities, and he's showing the conditions and acting like, oh, they're so terrible. And I'm like, dude, that's better than our freaking dorms in the military.
I've seen a couple of military comments like that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Better than what I had in the barracks.
Like, I signed up to join the military, and I'm like, wait, they're living in this, and they didn't sign up for nothing. They didn't sign 8 years of their life away.
They're illegally coming into the country and being detained, or they're asking for asylum and running in. We can't exactly put them in a 5-star hotel. They're not going to be staying at the Hilton.
Yeah, but the conditions they're in, I'm like, dude, what is that nonsense?
So we're giving them at least a basic place where, the kids are getting an education. They've got teachers there. They've got playgrounds there. They've got food. They've got clothing, shelter. They've got running water. They can take showers. They've got toiletries, women products, toothpaste,
Yeah.
everything they need to stay clean, healthy, and have somewhere to stay while they're, waiting for their asylum claim to be processed. But what should have happened is they should just go wait in Mexico and they can stay in whatever hotel they want. They can live wherever.
Okay. So that
plan is for what's supposed to be starting to push forward.
Yeah, that takes us into the next topic here. So that's exactly what the women that Booker took across the border. That's exactly the situation they were in. They were waiting for their processing, and they were sent back to a facility within Mexico to await the processing. But no, that's not good enough for them. Why stay in Mexico when you can cross the border with the help of a sitting Democrat who is running for president and using their press to provide yourself with some kind of a shield or asylum in entering the country, because he didn't take them to a detention center. No, they dropped them off somewhere else. They are inside the U.S., not inside of one of these detainment facilities. I'm not quite sure where exactly they are, but they're not in Border Patrol's custody or in Mexico, where they were supposed to be awaiting the decision. That's...
Well, the thing is, so AOC went down before she was ever elected and took pictures in front of an empty desert strip with a rope and a fence.
Yeah.
Needed to put the other pictures up. What's on the other side of the fence? And it's just two security guys, two police officers standing there, and nothing.
Yeah, and nothing. It's nothing.
There's
no facility. She's crying over what?
What I'm hearing on that situation is they went down. She was part of an activist group. That's why they're all dressed in white. They couldn't get into the actual detention facility, so they picked this spot and just posed for pictures. It was just a propaganda piece.
Yeah.
But none of it got released because it obviously looks uber fake.
Yeah, well, the other thing... Yeah, the other thing is she's supposed to be a bartender, and she's wearing, like, a really expensive watch and a really nice... I'm like, what kind of bartender is she?
However, the guy who took the pictures wanted credit for it. Because he took his time, and they were his pictures, and AOC got elected to Congress. She's now being House Representative, so her name is out there. She's now one of the most famous representatives.
So he wanted,
And so he decided to release the pictures, and that's how they got out there. Because he's like, look, I took these, this is my work. And everyone's like, well, what is this? Why does she look like she's, fake crying? What's on the other side of that fence? And when you actually see the pictures of the other side, you realize it was all a sham. It was made up. It was staged. And so then they're like, well, she was thinking about what's going on in these detention facilities, and it made her sad. And that didn't fly, so she had to make a trip physically down there.
Yeah.
Kind of say, well, now I'm going for real. And then didn't even go in to take the tour.
Yeah.
It's all opposite.
Well, to be fair, that's
how much fair.
To be fair, they said she didn't go in and take the tour of one facility. I don't know if she only was there to tour one facility. That nobody.
That was the one where she started yelling about women drinking out of toilets.
Yeah, that she never actually went in there. That's what it sounds like. That's what. But there's so many different conflicting sources. Yeah.
How many times has she gone down there because it's such an issue with her?
Apparently not that much of an issue, because she's already moved on to something else now. So.
That's what I'm saying. Once for the first photo op, and then another time for the second photo op. 2 times.
Yeah.
Booker has escorted that one small group of women over, and it's only now, while he's announced as presidential candidate.
Yeah, it's...
He didn't care last year. He didn't even back in January when the media was
saying... So, okay, yeah, here's the thing, is he wanted his Spartacus moment before... at that one... for that one hearing. Well, now he's kind of getting one, because what he did is actually...
It's illegal.
Yeah, it's illegal. It's criminal. Like, he's kind of in murky territory where I could see a defense case made on his behalf.
Yeah, he's mentally challenged. He didn't know what he was doing. That's gonna be his legal defense.
Yeah, have you heard this guy talk? Oh, okay, you're right.
saying.
I'm not about to put. Not about to put someone like that in jail.
Yeah. Oh man, that guy's like a clown.
So yeah, he probably does. He would have a possible legal case to defend himself, but more than likely, he facilitated these women to illegally cross our borders and skip
And
our detention centers.
They criminalize it if, like, the DNC wants. Right now, it's a crime.
Yeah,
And assisting them coming over is a crime.
yeah. He is a coyote for all intents and purposes.
Yes.
I don't
Well,
know what, like, I mean,
from that for being he's a senator, right? Yeah.
yeah,
If he gets protected from that just because of his political position, that shows corruption within the political system.
yeah.
If they can commit crimes that anybody else doing would have been put in jail for, but he can get away with it, that's corruption.
Yeah. So the other thing is these women are seeking asylum in the U.S. Because of spousal abuse, not abuse.
Asylum. I think we need to get a clear definition of what asylum is. Not to fleeing Germany because they were being put in concentration camps. That's definitely asylum.
Yeah,
People fleeing a country because of a dictator saying if you believe this, you're going to die, or
Yeah.
we'll capture you and put you in prison. Yeah, that's asylum. People saying, this place is a crap hole, I want to live somewhere better. It's not asylum. It's a definitely understandable pursuit. They want to get to a better life. I get it.
but they got to go through the regular channels. They can't just cross the border illegally and then seek
What are you
asylum
gonna do
as.
with your talent? Are you going to offer something that we can that's going to benefit this country? Are you here for good purposes? We got to go through a vetting process.
Well, there's also, it's like, hey, get in line. There is a line. There's an existing line of people trying to get into the United States.
The international asylum process, you go to the closest country that
Where you can, yeah,
meaning they should have all stopped in Mexico.
yeah,
You don't stop in Mexico, you're looking for something else.
yeah.
So get in line. That's just it. Pure and simple. If you've made it to
But-
Mexico, you are no longer seeking asylum from where you came from. You're in a country that takes asylum seekers.
Yeah.
That's not facilities to help with this.
Yeah, which is the other thing is,
You're looking for something else and it's not asylum. Get in line and we're gonna vet you.
yeah, so that's another part of the story, is Mexico has centers like this that they have started working with us, so we're taking people from our detainment facilities and putting them in Mexico while the processing for their for their information is going on. That's how it should be, because then they're not, because right now for some reason, or when under Obama and all that sort of thing, they would cross the border, they would get to these detainment facilities, we get their information, oh, we can't keep you in our detainment facilities, okay, just we'll release you into the U.S. and you come back for the final decision, and then people wouldn't come back. So now they're like, okay, rather than doing that, you're going to go into Mexico, you're going to go into one of their facilities, and you're going to wait for our decision. So then, by the time we make our decision, if you're accepted, well then you're going to be in the United States for us to give for you to hear the decision, and then, well, okay, then you get to stay. But while you're waiting for that decision, you're staying in Mexico. So if we say, hey, no thanks, bye, well then you should stay in Mexico. That's there's no reason. Yeah. Okay, bye. You don't get to come here. Thanks for trying. Try again next time, or something along those lines. And then, okay, so that seems like a much better system, because then the people we don't want here aren't here against our permission.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal, if we can stifle immigration to the point where we control it, we've got the border up, there's a border wall, we've got certain ports of entry, you have to come through here, and we make it much tougher to get in on an asylum cause. We've got certain countries we know with a dictator, and people coming from that
and then there's
country, those are on a quick path for asylum.
There's dictators, there's wars, there's religious persecution.
Have this, if we were close enough to North Korea, we could say, yes, someone coming from North Korea, we can see why they're seeking asylum. That would make sense. Someone coming from Mexico isn't really seeking asylum. Just move to a different city in Mexico. There are, they got some cartels, there's some bad places, but they're also not the worst countries.
Especially in the case of these domestic violence type. Oh, domestic abuse, spousal abuse. I'm like,
Yeah, that's
Move
not.
to a different freaking city. Get away from that a-hole.
That would be like someone living in a trailer park said, "My husband hit me. Can I move uptown to this penthouse?"
Yeah, can I stay in
No,
Trump Tower for the...
move
like,
out of that trailer home, but you gotta still be able
yeah,
to make
that...
money.
People do that in the United States all the time. They go switch states, switch cities. Okay. Yeah, that's what happens. There's plenty of room in Mexico to avoid the guy who is beating you up.
Yeah,
You don't need
so
to come to the U.S. It's
you're
you
a political
can...
refugee because you believe this, and your new dictator says, "Nope, anyone under this regime, we're executing you." Yeah, that's asylum. Separating a group of people because of their race or something, and saying we're going to execute you. Your life is threatened. Again, just like the Jews fleeing Germany. That's very obvious. They're seeking asylum and they need it. Just people looking for economic migrants, like as they like to call them, that's not asylum. So if we make it more narrow, define what it means to be an asylum seeker, and have a list of places where we're actually looking for, saying, yeah, these people here could be asylum seekers. Let's kind of fast pass them through the process to see, can they temporarily stay in a certain facility. Everybody else, you're going to wait in Mexico. You're going to get in line. That's going to drop that line down substantially. People aren't going to wait 4 years in line while they're in Mexico. They're just going to go look for some work there in Mexico.
Well, I think
If
another...
we get down to a manageable process, it'll be much faster and easier to start vetting and streamlining immigrants into the country that we know are coming in, document them, and hey, welcome. Come on
I
in.
also think we need some kind of policy to get people out of the U.S. That, like, oh, you don't like it here? Leave. That sort of thing. Like, hey, let's trade 10 people for Colin Kaepernick. We can easily do that. And what about the U.S. Women's soccer team? We could trade a couple immigrants easily for them. All right, not the entire soccer team, but just the ones who apparently hate America.
I know this sounds ridiculous, but it almost sounds like a good idea. What if you are an anti-American protester or whatever? You can elect to move out of the country, and we'll trade you for an immigrant coming in, and you switch. Yeah. It's an instant, hey, you're next in line, come on in.
Yeah.
You're now a citizen. You took his spot.
I would actually even say multiple people, because it's like, oh, hey, okay, you want to leave actively? Okay, we'll get rid of you and we'll take 2.
Yep. You feel so much about these immigrants, you hate this country so much, you leave and we'll take in 5 immigrants right now.
Yeah.
Just bam, stamp it, welcome.
Yeah. The
and
next 5 people
who want to be here.
Yeah. I got no problem with that. Sounds like a good trade-off. Because it's kind of segueing into the other topic of the women's soccer team, because that was the other thing. I was kind of getting there with the fourth, but then we switched into the... Anyway, so I don't know if you saw this. I don't know why this is making the news, because it's soccer. Like, nobody in the U.S. watches soccer. Not even the men's soccer, let alone the women's soccer.
I thought it was building up some steam.
I mean, I guess it's building up a little bit of traction, but,
it's activity.
I'm pretty sure Ultimate Frisbee has more viewers than the women's soccer. It's a minor sport. Nobody cares about it, really.
Pay gap.
Yeah, so there's the pay gap, but then so before the pay gap, there was the captain of the women's soccer team saying that she didn't want to go to the White House because Trump's in there.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and everybody's like, okay, sure, we didn't want you there anyway. And Trump's response was, well, you got to win first before you get invited. So
I'm like a jerk sometimes, but he's really quick with those.
Yeah. So they did end up winning. So they were winning, and then they tried to use that to ask for equal pay for equal work.
That's not how sports work.
It's not how sports work, and this is something that none of this is original, but they got beat by the 14-year-old men's soccer.
Yeah, I heard about that. A boys team.
Yeah. A bunch of 14-year-olds beat the world champions for women's soccer. So then that's what everybody's like, oh, but they deserve equal pay, and I'm like, for equal work,
boys,
the equal work of less than 14-year-old boys, okay, then they are overpaid right now. That's what you're telling me.
That's where that's where this whole pay gap garbage needs to stop. It is not equal pay for equal work. Never has been, never will be. It is equal pay for equal production.
Yes.
You put in the same number of hours and you get the same output of your work, the same quality of work, then you will most definitely get paid the same. But a guy who's working 45 hours a week and someone working 35, I'm going to pay the 45 hour a week person more because they put in more work, so there's more output.
Yeah. There's more output, but there's also, you could spend 30 hours digging a ditch, and somebody else could spend 30 hours coding a program that revolutionizes the internet. Yeah, whose time is worth more?
In a restaurant with employees, and they just stand around and tell the people what to do. Yeah. However, because of their management, this restaurant exists and can function and makes money, so they get paid the big bucks. The guy digging the ditch, he can work till his hands are bleeding. Not going to get paid a lot.
Equal pay for equal work.
With a backhoe.
Yeah, and it's so there's two factors of it. It's some people work smarter and not harder. And so if you're one of those people that works harder but not smarter, you can put equal work in all you want and you're not going to get the same kind of outcome.
Yeah, well, that's why I said it's the product. It's what you can produce. So when it comes to sports, male athletes just produce a more vivid, more active entertainment experience.
Yeah, more people watch it because there's more going on. It's more competitive.
There's a lot more dunking. There's a lot more, rebound. It's just a much more entertaining and active venue and spectacle versus the WNBA.
Yeah.
In football, if they tried that women's football and even put in the lingerie and weird junk, nobody cared.
Yeah.
Not fun to watch at all. I mean, that's as fun as watching middle school football of kids that aren't yours.
Exactly.
Nobody cares. I'm not going to drive or pay to go see that. I wouldn't even watch it if it was on TV for free. So if there's a better venue that is more exciting, and I understand the women put in a lot of effort into their soccer playing, they just cannot produce as good of a product as the men's teams in athletic events. So they draw a bigger crowd. That bigger crowd makes more revenue, more products they can sell, more name brand recognition. They pull in the money. What the women's team is asking is for the men to pull in the crowds and then let us take your money.
Yes.
And that's not right.
And so this is something else that other people have pointed out is the men's soccer team, they get paid 9% of the earnings of their team. Women get paid 13% of the earnings of their team.
Yeah.
The difference is the men's team earns a whole of a lot more. The women's team, not so much. So they get a bigger percentage of a smaller pie.
Yeah, so that whole equal pay for equal work garbage is a lie.
Yeah.
It is equal pay for equal output, for equal production.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be phrased. Yeah. That's how the way a capitalist society works. That's how it has always worked. I don't care if you work really hard. If you produce a piece of garbage furniture or a piece of garbage marketing, you didn't make any money. I'm not going to pay you any money.
Yeah. And so, like you were saying, it's like the women's divisions, usually there's not as much athleticism. There's not as much skill and amazing feats, or there's not enough, highlight plays and that sort of thing. But it's also, their competition isn't as fierce. Like, that's half of the fun of watching some sports is because, you've got two really good competitors going against each other and challenging each other. But when you've got a team that can be beaten by 14-year-old boys versus another team that could also be beaten by 14-year-old boys, you're like, why don't we just watch a match of the 14-year-old boys going against each other? There's going to be more plays. There's going to be more standout performances. And they're like, wait a minute, why are we watching 14-year-olds? Why don't we watch, professional athletes that are in their 20s? Because that's what the most pros are in their 20s and 30s. And that's what we see. We see these awesome highlight plays.
The thing that also doesn't make any sense is there are some incredible athletic women, like the Williams sisters.
Yeah.
Have been in tennis highlights and, out there.
Oh, dude.
And what is her name? Anna.
No. Yeah, but you know the story with the Serena sisters, right?
They're complaining now.
No. So this was a couple years back. They challenged. They said they could beat any male player who wasn't in the top 100. And so
they went with that guy who was like near the bottom.
Yeah, no, he was like 104 or something like that. But he went drinking the night before. He didn't practice at all, and he stomped both of them back to back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, it wasn't even close, and he was like 104. So I mean, it's not like he was in the. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
It's like.
I could have called that.
Yeah, sorry.
They're good. That's why people say, for a girl, that's good.
Yeah.
Trying to put on your accomplishments, but if a drunk, out of shape, not even in the top 100 guys can beat your champions, what's the point?
Yeah.
So that's why there is a division of women's sports and men's sports. And unfortunately, women may like women's sports and they want to participate, get into those leagues, and that's great. That gives them an objective, a goal. Go ahead and pursue it. Just understand it does not draw in the crowds, and without the crowds, there is no money to pay you what you think it's worth.
Yeah.
You have to have the crowds. Even what's her name, Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
She did pretty good by the
UFC.
Yeah, by the UFC. But she says she doesn't want to compete against men, and they asked her about the pay gap, and she's like, they earn it. I earn what I earn, and they earn what they earn, and it's the way it's supposed to be. She actually made sense.
Yep.
She's actually opposed to that
Fallon Fox, yeah.
Yeah, crack somebody's skull or one of the ladies' skulls by punching them. Yeah. That doesn't happen in a woman-on-woman fight. They get bruised up, it's MMA, but you're not breaking bones and cracking skulls just from getting a punch. There's an obvious difference.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the sports were separated, but they all have to be under the realization that's the way it operates. The money doesn't come out of thin air. It comes from the crowds, the draw of the people, and what they're willing to pay for ticket prices and merchandise. And if your stuff doesn't sell, there's no money to pay you with.
Yeah.
Tough luck.
All right. And one last thing about the women's soccer team. So, so there was an incident involving the flag after their win. One of the ladies was holding the American flag, kind of recklessly. No reverence or anything like that, just kind of one-handing it. And then for some reason they're doing some sort of pose, and she ends up throwing it on the ground. Now, originally I saw a different video where it looked like she was stomping on the flag after throwing it down. Not the case, that was just kind of an angle. One of the other ladies did go and grab the flag off of the ground before they took their pose, so at least she's like, oh, dude, what are you doing? We're here representing the U.S. at this world champion event, and you throw our flag on the ground. I don't understand the mentality there, but there's a couple of members on that team that have no respect for America and have stated so in several times and all that sort of thing. But at least there are some women on the team who are kind of like, no, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be representing the U.S.
And they shouldn't be on the team. If you don't like the country you're representing, why are you on that country's team? Go play for another team within a minor league.
Yeah, go get hired for somebody else, some other team. I'm sure if you're good enough, you've got contracts. Yeah, you've got somebody else who are willing to take you on. You just want a world champion. Yeah.
Athletes going there and taking a flag and burning it and saying, "That's my country. I want a gold medal."
Yeah. Well, I will say, so even though it looked like she stomped on the flag, she didn't. But had the other lady not gone in and grabbed the flag, that's exactly where her foot went when they did the pose. So I was kind of like, dude, what the...
I mean, still, you just don't throw it on the ground. No. Or even if she dropped it, that's a no-no, but you still at least pick it up.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's kind of what you're there to represent. So I wonder how many of those ladies is going to keep their job after this. Even like, yeah, we're world champions. I'm like, yeah, but you're world champions representing a country that you just showed no regard for. Why do we want you around?
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be accepted anywhere else. You want our president going to talk to another world leader and saying, "Yeah, my country is a bunch of idiots. That's my country." That's not somebody you want representing you out to the rest of the world. So anything done that represents the U.S. should be done with some regard. That should just be common sense. I don't. I guess common sense is no longer taught in schools.
No, it's the opposite is taught in schools.
Doesn't seem to be common sense is common. Maybe we just took it for granted and thought it was common. Growing up,
it's. Oh, I did that thing where you for some reason have been the center. My bad. I forgot to do that today. Oh well.
I was checking the stream. I didn't.
The camera has been on your face most of the time. Oh well, and now it's on. Man, I don't know what just happened, but my screen is really, really dark right now.
That was really
let's
dark.
do that.
Until you pull up a white.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of a little, like a major pivot here. So the last topic I've got is the Epstein thing. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, or?
No, not anything related to recent news. Just kind of a thought. We'll do that after.
Yeah. So this is kind of a breaking news that just happened on Sunday. At least I think it was either on Sunday or it was Saturday. So pretty recent. Jeffrey Epstein, like, I thought this guy was already in jail for life. Because I had no idea he was actually out and was, like, just serving, like, I think he was on a 4-year sentence of house. What? Like,
Probation?
Yeah, it was kind of probation because it was kind of like a relaxed sentence where he could go to his mansion and he could go do whatever he wanted. Even though he is a registered sex offender, he agreed to those terms. For some reason was given free reign to kind of come and go as he pleased, even though he was technically being punished. Well, now more information. I don't know if because it's not really new and it's not really more information. I don't know how to describe this. It's information that they knew previously, but has now been made public, so they can't squash it anymore. This is information from the court reports and from the documents that they had originally that they've just been kind of sitting on, and a request for information and a court case filed by Mike Cernovich and then the something Herald, Miami Herald? I believe it's the Miami Herald. So Cernovich started this, requesting these documents be unsealed because it was illegal to keep them sealed. And once this information got out there and this started becoming more, and they couldn't hide it anymore, then they decided to go ahead and arrest Epstein. And now he's seeking a plea deal to only be charged for 5 years and to grant immunity to any of his co-conspirators in sex trafficking of minors.
How could they even give him a plea deal of immunity for those guys?
Yeah, it doesn't make
things you could possibly do.
Yeah. So, for those
are almost worse than murder.
Yeah, and this has been public knowledge for years. It has been decades. That's why I thought Epstein was in jail, because everybody was talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and he's got this Lolita Island, and the Lolita Express, and then Orgy Island, and I'm like, dude, how is this something that was continuing to happen? This was wide knowledge. This was something that people had known about for years. People had known for years that Clinton had gone on these flights. This was information that was out there. How is this just now? I heard about this.
I've heard some stuff about this. I'm aware of what some of the things that have been brought up recently, but this is information that wasn't a sealed court document.
Yeah.
But he didn't get prosecuted for that information. He was prosecuted for other counts.
Yeah.
They just had additional counts that he did not get prosecuted on. So once that got released, they're saying, now let's prosecute him on these as well.
Yeah.
Right?
So the other thing is, what he's being prosecuted for right now. So the original thing that he actually pled guilty to was 1 count of prostitution. Or accepting prostitution, or I forget the actual legal term, but it's, hiring someone to have sex with him. one count, and that was the 4-year sentence. When these documents were unsealed, it went back further. So it was documents, or it was offenses not covered under his plea deal because they happened prior. Because he was covered for this X amount of years. When he took his plea deal, he's covered for these years and for these crimes. These other more recent, or the more recently unveiled or unsealed crimes were from years before, so they're not covered under his immunity. They also happen in New York and Florida, so there's now a federal case because he crossed state lines as part of this trafficking. So New York has a case against him, Florida has a new case against him, and there's now a federal case against him, and he's seeking 5 years. A maximum of 5 years is the deal he's seeking. What I hope this doesn't go through, but it seems very likely that will happen, which is just absolutely insane.
What I'm not understanding about this is they already had all this info.
Yeah.
And it got sealed, and he got off with basically a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Who was in charge of that? That judge needs to be investigated. The prosecutor and the defense lawyer kind of need to be investigated. Something's not right there. If they only put him on one charge of prostitution, but they had information from before that, crossing state lines, and a child trafficking sex.
So the other thing is the one count of prostitution, she was underage.
But they didn't consider that. They just counted.
It's statutory.
Yeah, like there's a giant payoff. He used his influence or pay to do something there. They couldn't hide it 100%, so they had to make up something and say, like, you're gonna have to do something. Let's go with this, and then they sealed it. So anybody involved with that needs to be investigated because that's just crooked.
Yeah. So we're hoping so in order to get his 5-year immunity, he's talking about naming names of clientele that would participate in this, which that would include.
He gets life, and then he only gets a possibility of parole if he names people.
Yeah, that should be what happens. We don't know because considering they had this mountain of evidence against him before, it just wasn't made publicly available. Now a lot of that is public, and so they have to prosecute him based on what's public. But that he's still seeking. His lawyers filed for a 5-year maximum, which doesn't make any sense. The whole thing just stinks to like wait a minute. There's no way this guy should ever get a maximum of 5 years. This guy should get life in prison without the option of parole. And he should have to name names of everybody involved.
A child prostitution ring.
Yeah.
I don't even know if prostitution, like what. I don't know if this was voluntary or it was coercion. Regardless, they're underage. It's a child. Yeah, I guess a child sex ring. Yeah. Interstate that he was facilitating. Or had people bringing it here, and he just provided the locations. I don't know.
So it has been confirmed with these documents that the ages of these girls go as young as 14. Now, that doesn't like that. I'm pretty sure that it went younger than 14, but 14 is what the documents are saying. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. That's illegal.
Yeah. 16, 14 doesn't quite matter. These girls were underage, and so the other thing, so this is something I heard from, so Mike Cernovich was being interviewed by Stefan Monalou about this, and that's where I'm getting a lot of this information from, because he was talking about, nobody knows where Epstein actually made his billions. Like, nobody knows what he was doing to make this money, and that's something that I've confirmed, like, so he was spending, so he's a hedge fund manager, similar to kind of like Madoff, but he doesn't have any facilities. He doesn't have any people hired under him to manage these funds. How is he making billions? Where's his analyst? Where's all of his stuff? How is he looking?
He would have to have some sort of transaction log showing any funds that he's been invested in.
So he has been investing, but he doesn't really have, like, because if you go to like Goldman Sachs and some of these other large, that's like a huge enterprise. There's thousands of employees.
Showing where the money came from, what
Yeah,
investments.
there's paper trails for everything, and there's analysts saying, oh, we need to invest in this. There's people getting new investors and all that sort of thing. For Epstein, you're talking about, like, he's competing at the same level as Goldman Sachs, being a billionaire and having a several $1 billion hedge fund with a fraction of the staff. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. How is he competing at the same level with nothing? Like a tenth of... I don't know the exact number of the employees that he has, but there's no way he can compete at the same level that they're doing. I mean, as far as we know, there's no servers, no tech center. Which, if you're trading and if you're doing anything with investments and you don't have a tech center that is doing nothing but buying and selling, by the time your transaction goes through, you will have lost money. These are these are supercomputers that buy and sell in millisecond. Like we're talking about microseconds. You can't compete with that just by just write in this order. Like by the time you finish writing the line, you lost thousands. That's you. So how Epstein was. So the only thing that makes sense is this entire thing is bankrolled off of blackmail. He has this Lolita Express. He's dealing in underage sex trafficking. Invites people out to his parties or his island. Films them doing things. Yeah.
Yeah, I was, who was I watching? I think it was Tim Pool again.
Yeah.
But he said they have a safe where he has a lot of blackmail items in there. So someone was showing a DVD recording and they redacted the names, but it was somebody with somebody. So he's been recording sessions.
Yeah.
So he's got dirt on, we don't know who.
Yeah. And that's exactly why he's giving up names of clientele but the thing is, they've got enough evidence. They don't need him anymore. He could keep his mouth shut for years, and they'd still be going through all the evidence. Like he doesn't.
Yeah, they've got his blackmail evidence. They can already find people that.
Yeah, and they can start unraveling. They've got, it's not just one thread of a sweater. They've got a whole fistful of threads that are unraveling the sweater. Why do they need Epstein's testimony or his? Oh, he's going to implicate people. They've already got, so this is something that other people were talking about. It's like, they've got flight logs.
Don't say anything. Just put the video in and say, yep, there's the face, and there's the action.
Yeah, and why, Epstein is the big whale at the top. So you could, when they're investigating things like this, what they'll often offer immunity deals to, low men on the totem pole. Like, oh, hey, you're just some, courier.
At the top.
Yeah, you're just some courier, you're just some money manager, you're just some guy who goes out and finds women for him. Okay, we'll grant you immunity in order for your testimony to get somebody. Epstein is the top. Why do you need? He doesn't. If he gets immunity, it's going to be one of those frustrating. There's no hope for the U.S. anymore type thing. Like if somebody like that doesn't get punished for their crimes, it means that this system is too corrupt.
They just start pursuing the evidence they've gathered from his little blackmail safe and resources elsewhere. There's going to be people coming out of the woodwork asking for plea bargains because they don't know what he's got.
Yeah.
People would just come running and say, look, I'm sorry, I went on one party boat, I'll do a plea deal.
Yeah. So
they know what dirt he's got.
If the justice system works as it should, he should go to jail for life, no immunity, nothing. That's the end of it. We don't need to hear anything else from him. Finally, justice... I mean, it won't ever be proportional, but at least some sense of justice will be restored. If he gets 5 years and that's it, and if he does get 5 years maximum, he's not going to serve that in prison. They're going to let him do the same thing that he's doing right now. He gets to go wherever he wants. He gets to leave the country. He gets to go to his country clubs. Yeah, it'll show the absolute corruption in our political system and our justice system.
If he's already got caught before and they gathered this evidence, and he's out, and now after unsealing the records, they have more evidence of stuff he did before then. Do we know that he doesn't have evidence elsewhere that hasn't been revealed yet? stuff that never got caught in court? Does he have another safe elsewhere? Does he have people
Probably.
who he can continue to blackmail if he only gets these 5 years, gets out and says, "No, time to reel in the rest of my favors"?
Yeah.
That's what we need to prevent. We don't know what's all out there. Let's tackle what we've got, and he's gone.
That would hopefully be the case, although it's looking less and less likely. So it was kind of, Sunday was one of those days where like, yes, finally, just, and then now here it is. It's Tuesday, and we're already seeing like, how does he have so much power in this system to get away with this sort of thing? And this is the other thing. I thought he was in jail already for years, because this is stuff that's been public knowledge for a while about this guy and what he's done and his history and all that sort of thing. This is one of those things that's like, how is this not... Well, the other thing is, this is not being circulated on mainstream media.
I mean, it's already looking like there are some ties with Clinton.
Oh, no, that's... Okay, that's the other crazy thing that...
And saying, hey, I've only gone to these 4 countries on his private jet, and I've only attended this location, and it was only for this. He, like, really quickly jumped out and said, I didn't know anything about it. I've only done this and this and this and this. And I was like, really?
So, did you see that? So there's something else, I forget, so there's a couple people who pointed this out, and I think Project Veritas was one of them, or it might have been Mike Cernovich. Wikipedia, they changed the entry for him within an hour of all this information coming out. So the entry for Jeffrey Epstein, they completely removed all reference to Clinton. There's a screenshot of before and after, and they're less than an hour apart. The Wikipedia entry completely removes the reference to Clinton and all of that sort of thing, but they left in the references to Trump. That part stayed.
Well, I did hear a comment about that, because Trump said something kind of positive and made a remark about he does seem to like the younger girls or something like that.
Yeah.
But then later he kicked the guy out of his hotel for harassing one of his workers.
Well, it wasn't just harassing. No, this is actually sexual assault against a minor at his Mar-a-Lago.
They kicked the guy out, so he's got something backing him saying, look, I don't know exactly what he's up to, but he tried that at my facility and his ass is gone.
Yep. So. And the other thing is, there's video clips of Trump saying, it's something about Bill Clinton. He's talking to, not O'Reilly, Hannity. And he says, well, Bill Clinton's probably got a lot to worry about with that Epstein plane. Or something, I don't know if those are exact words, but it's something along those lines. And I'm like, yeah, see, this is public, this is stuff that is widely known. How is this all buried and not...
It seems like it's the same cabal, it's the same network of people, the same reason why that stupid Jussie Smollett thing, they tried to wrap it up so quick. And there's already a trail from Obama to Jussie Smollett trying to shut it down.
Yeah, and it's not even 6 degrees of separation, it's like 2 degrees of separation.
No, it's like direct text to Michelle.
Oh, really? Okay, so it's like 1 degree of separation.
Michelle's assistant, and then her assistant knew Fox. It's like 2 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
So, something really corrupt is going on there, and there could be some Republicans and people on the right aisle of things tied in with it, and that's unfortunate. Those guys should have known better than to get tangled up in that garbage. They deserve to go down with the burning plane just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But it seems most of the big names coming out are tied in with the Clintons and everyone they've associated with. Something is very dark on that within their realm of content.
Yeah, so was it Epstein or was it Epstein's lawyer? I don't remember which one, but one of them is associated with starting the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah.
So,
well, that was one of the plane trips.
Yeah.
The plane we took was it 2 trips to Africa, one of them being on behalf of the Clinton Foundation or something like that. They're already tied together.
Yeah, there's direct connection. Yeah.
They're releasing a comment trying to back away from it, but this is already there.
Oh yeah, no, I love the comments that have been about that. It's like, yeah, because Clinton's a trustworthy guy. He's never lied before.
Yeah, especially not about sexual relations that were inappropriate or grave allegations. And,
Yeah, wait, like,
at least
I'm
you got
pretty
that.
sure he was impeached exactly for that.
I don't know, man. Between Hollywood and the higher ups at the DNC, something is really just not right.
Yeah. So, it's.
I'm hoping at some point all of this just gets exposed, and maybe that'll pop back some of this lunacy where things keep going more extreme to the
Yeah.
left. People kind of wake up and say, "Look at all the people you've been idolizing and following, listening to. They're the
Yeah.
ones raping your women, taking your children, corrupting your mind, destroying the democracy and the republic that we're built upon.
Mm-hmm.
Wake up."
And it's because it's one of those. It's a weird thing. Is you could. It's one thing to like instill in policies and that sort of thing, and without like, yeah, sure, they're damaging for the country, but maybe you were trying your best, sort of thing. But it's yeah, misguided application of power. Those are the sorts of things like, yeah, you were wrong, but you could still come back from that. But it seems like all of these major Democratic players, it's not just bad policies, it's completely corrupt, immoral characters. There's all kinds of skeletons in their closet. It's not just trying to destroy the country. It's like, dude, these are terrible people just in general. Like, the Clintons have been associated with murders. They, there was active criminal acts from Hillary in destroying evidence. Oh, but that's not obstruction of justice. That's just her using bleach bit. No, I'm pretty sure that qualifies as tampering with evidence and obstruction of justice by every measure. Yeah. So I mean, it's multiple things, and now there's Clinton Bill Clinton with his sexcapades, and it's public knowledge, and it's the rape cases. There's also there's underage girls involved. Like, yeah, these are terrible, immoral people, and yet for some reason they keep coming out clean. And then the same people will make accusations against Trump, and you're like, dude, there's nothing. What?
So
Nothing even half of what these other people have done.
Weinstein has been known in Hollywood and kind of slightly abroad for some years now. Right? The whole Me Too movement got started because he finally got caught.
Yeah.
And they could no hide it.
Well,
but there have been stories about these.
It's not just
minors for just as long.
Yeah. And there's also Roman Polanski and Woody Allen. Woody Allen had sex with his 14-year-old stepdaughter.
Yeah. So this stuff has been going on, and then the Subway dude, the Jared dude, got caught and put in jail a couple of years ago. Who introduced him to this? He didn't just start surfing around on Google and saying, "Where do I find little kids?" And he was trying to bring friends in because he got introduced from other people. There is a ring out there somewhere that's pulling in these higher ups, the people with money, these corrupt individuals that has some sway. And once they get tied in, they're blackmailed and they're fully in. They're committed.
Yeah, and they're pulling in other, wealthy people or famous people and all that sort of thing, and they're getting in these. Yeah, it's a. Because if you look at what Epstein, what is provable about Epstein, is he had girls come in, he would have sex with them, he would pay them, and then he would have them go out and recruit others. So it's like, okay, they're in the system, and then he would have them go out and recruit other girls for him. And it was like, well, it's the same system once you get to like, okay, well, we got you on tape, having sex with a 15-year-old. Well, now you're in the system. Now go out and find somebody else for us to tag on.
Yeah, kind of like a dark, seedy
scheme. Yeah, it is like Madoff times 10 when it comes to evil. It's like you're on the hook. Go get somebody else to take your place, and then that's how this network grows, and that's how he got his billions. And ugh.
That's how he can get off with just minor slaps on the wrist, is because who knows how many people he's got in his back pocket, and it's disgusting. I don't understand how giant groups like that make it that far. How they continue to grow like that and pull in whoever has this political sway and financial sway. It's disgusting.
Well, the other thing is, because I was listening to Mike Cernovich and Stefan talk about this, and Mike was like, yeah, this is why I never alone with a woman. Anybody who's under the age of, 35 or whatever, I don't, anything like that. And I'm like, well, why are you even thinking about having sex with somebody that you're not in a committed relationship with? That's exactly where all this stems from. You're like, all of this, you can't get caught, with a blackmail situation if you're having sex with your committed girlfriend that you've had, or your wife. I'm like, that she's of age. You know that there's not going to be any kind of situation where you're going to get blackmailed for this relationship. What happens is these guys go in there and have these parties or these orgies. They don't know who they're having sex with. I'm like, dude, are you guys are, what? It's a complete lack of, like, how could you, like, that seems so common sense that you wouldn't have sex with some random person you just met that you know nothing about. But I mean, I guess that's just me. That's not normal society.
Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, that pile of garbage.
Oh, the Eyes Wide Shut?
Yeah, that movie was gross. But it's like that whole concept where they just want to have one night of debauchery and think they're going to get away with it.
Yeah, and then I've never seen it, but
why risk your career? Why do that to your loved one? Just maintain yourself. Have some standards and some dignity. If you want to go sleep around, then don't be in a committed relationship, but at least be with somebody your age, and somebody, if you're found out, it's not a big deal. That's just your girlfriend. Don't go cheating behind your back. Don't go hooking up with underage girls. If they look too young, it's because they're too young.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they're 20 or 21. If they look way too young, then just don't even risk it. Have some dignity. Maintain yourself. It's not that hard.
Or at least it shouldn't be, but apparently for some people, I gotta have sex. Like that, I don't understand the appeal of having sex with somebody that you have no emotional connection with.
Huh? Well, I mean, there's attractive women out there. It's kind of there's a middle ground, but you should be smart enough to control yourself.
Yeah.
Start using your big brain, not your little brain.
Yeah, I understand attractive women, but what's the? I don't understand the appeal. Like yeah, we had sex. I just had sex. You could sing the Lonely Island song, and then, well, what's now? Oh, I guess we gotta have sex with somebody else, because...
it's more to do with statute, or
the
power and money.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those morals backing you, then you're going to be attracted to things that say, hey, it's just a night of having fun, it's just a big party. It's just a couple of drugs. It's just whatever. You don't have morals backing you when you have that power and money.
Yeah, it seems so empty and fleeting and devoid of everything that would make sex great.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the way modern culture's kind of going. We had the free love movement back in the hippie days, the 70s. It just kind of carried on, and now it's gone to be where, we have a whole gay pride month, which isn't even about gay pride, because it was all about, like, spandex and belts and naked people and weird horse heads and dongs flopping. I don't know what that has to do with being gay, but there's a lot of gross stuff at those events.
Yeah. Oh, did you see there's a picture of an old dude flashing a little boy in the UK gay pride?
That was happening even here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Parents bring in, like 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds, and I saw some mom in L.A. and she's like, "Yeah, my daughter's 8. She just came out as trans. I couldn't be happier." I'm like, what?
No. So there's a picture where this. Where the old dude with no pants on, and little kids like, no.
Yeah. And their parents are trying to get them to say, no, this is normal. This is this is what society is starting to boil down to, is they're trying to make it mainstream to be to lose your morals, to have no
Yeah.
value, to have no respect for yourself. I mean, I don't get it.
All right. Well, that was the last topic that I had to cover. I think that was everything. I know there was other stuff that happened this week or between the last 2 weeks, but I can't remember anything off the top of my head. But it is already after 9 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. So I know I've been kind of intermittent on these, but should be every Tuesday from here on out. Don't anticipate any work issues, and hopefully won't break another tooth. So, I've been very careful with my teeth lately, and cutting down on sugars and chewing on one side until I get that cap. But I guess that's where I'll call it. And thanks to anybody who did tune in. Actually should go to the screen where I can actually close the stream. But thanks for joining us. See you next Tuesday.